Hello, friends. You are watching Stitchy Witchy Bee. My name is Bee. My pronouns are she, her. Full disclosure, I've filmed this twice already. It did not work out for a variety of reasons. I kind of wish I'd kept the first one, but I didn't, so here we are. It is Saturday, December 14th, currently mid to late afternoon. The first one I attempted to start filming in about 1. Long story. Thank you everyone who is watching this, whether you are new or a returning subscriber. I really appreciate you, especially if you are here because of Jingle Ball. Extra appreciate you right now. I know there are dozens, if not hundreds, of options of people to watch for Flosstube, so I really am grateful for every single person who does. Just some really quick notes. I forgot to do this at the end of the last video, but I wanted to mention that my stats for November. One of the projects I'm working on is on paper, so I don't have exact totals, but I'm estimating about 17,500 stitches for the entirety of the month of November, which was a really big month for me. I worked on a total of 16 projects and finished 2. So it was a good month. I don't think this month will have nearly as much, but I also have a couple weeks off at the end of the month, so that could change things. After that, we're just going to jump right into the works in progress, or WIPs. I do have a new start right at the beginning, which is Among Shadows and Branches. The artwork is by Chrissabug. The pattern is by Thread Geeks. I'm doing this on a 22 count. I believe the color is water gray. I'm doing DMC. Forever issues with the lighting. Just starting in the top right corner, 1/1. There were a couple colors I thought I had, could not find them when I went to fill them in at the spot, so I'm just going to work around them for now. They should be somewhere, I just don't know where they ended up. I'm really enjoying it. This pattern is going to be a lot of fun. I did approximately 850 stitches so far. I think this is only maybe 3 little diagonal cuts. But that's definitely becoming one of my favorite ways to do things. I fully understand why people like it so much. And if you are not aware, people typically do diagonals to avoid any lines or rows that show up when they're stitching. It doesn't always happen, but it can sometimes if you're doing hard stops places. Even if the color continues, sometimes you can still see that line. Next, I restarted Dans la Bibliotheque. The artwork is by Auguste Toulmouche, patterned by Diana70 on Etsy. This is where I was before. There's a lot of fabric to wrangle, so bear with me. This was being done on 14 count, just kind of a cream or ivory Ada, and it looks fine, but I knew the finished piece was going to be huge, and I wasn't thrilled with the coverage. Again, it's not horrible, but I don't like it either. Full disclosure. So I am restarting it on 22 count again. Like I said, I'm loving 22 count. There's a lot of projects I'll be starting on 22 count here this next year. So the restart, because I was beginning again, I went into the top right corner again. And if you're new, I usually start top right because I stitch in hand and I'm left-handed. So this is just easier for me to hold on to. So we have the first little bit of this bookshelf in the wall, working down toward the globe. I have just under, or just over, 1,700 stitches so far on this. Again, very happy with my progress, very happy with the smaller count. I think it's going to work out really well. Next is Dark Golden Delicious by the Artsy Housewife. I am doing this on an 18 count Bedrock by Bestitch Me. apologies about the dog barking. I am not redoing this again. We're just going to have to deal with it. I'm doing this with mostly fancy flosses, 1/1. I did just under 1,500 stitches this month. That's the mostly finishing off this rectangle, doing the borders for these. I've got 2 or 3 more of these medallions or motifs down here to do the outlines of, and then I can start doing a lot of the fancier bits all around. I do want to save everything in the middle for last. Okay, I did pause a moment. The barking was getting more intense. I have no control over it. It's not my dog, so I do apologize if it's a recurring issue. Next is my progress on Festive Forest. I didn't get a whole lot done, so I'm nowhere near done enough to do any of the finishing. This was a pattern that was offered for Jingle Ball. They did the finishing techniques during the ball itself. It was very beautiful, very beautiful, very fun to work on. I just didn't make it through to the finish on it yet. The pattern is by the Blue Flower. I'm doing it on 16 count evergreen with most of the called for. There were a few that I wasn't able to get my hands on, but that's fine. I'm hoping I can maybe get it done by the time the video is set to leave. Any of the videos for the classes will be around for 30 days and then they're no longer available. The finishing did seem relatively straightforward though, despite the kind of odd or interesting shape. They did a really good job explaining it in the class, so I'm not too worried about it. I don't do much on 16 count anymore, so it is a bit strange doing it 2/1, but the colors are beautiful, the stitch is beautiful, the fabric is beautiful. Very much enjoying myself. I think this is by Fiber on a Whim. Not 100% on that though. Reminiscent to me of a lot of Fiber on a Whim fabrics I've done, or I've worked on. Then is No Time Like the Present. I worked on this a lot when I was hanging out in stitching rooms, and I'm really happy with my progress on it. This is showing up more squash-like than it is. It's more of a bold carrot orange, but that's okay. This pattern is No Time Like the Present by Modern Folk Embroidery. It was their 2024 stitch along. I'm doing it on an 18 count Aida that I hand dyed. It came out similar to Charcoal by Weeks Dye Works, if you're familiar with that. This red is Cabernet, and this is Wascally Wabbit, both by Roxy Floss Co. This is the one that's a paper pattern still. I think I did probably around 1,700 stitches just this month. I had really good progress. Like most of this was done during stitching rooms at Jingle Ball. I've worked almost monogamously on it, which is very rare for me, but I was enjoying it so much. Next is The Pilgrim by Long Dog Sampler. Previously, I had only done this part of this motif, so I finished it out, brought this over, and this is the edge of the entire project over here now. I'm doing it primarily in Aged Black by Valdani, which has some really lovely kind of tans and blacks and grays. Hopefully those are picking up. I will be doing any plant motifs in Backyard Green Field, which has a lot of shades of green, some browns. I think they'll blend in really nicely or fit in cohesively with the entirety of it. I'd initially thought to do, I think it was like chocolate brownies or some variegated brown from Valdani, but I was having a really hard time getting it multiple of these in stock at the same time. Usually there was just 1 or 2 available and I needed a handful in order to do the animals in that. So I think what I'm going to do, I'd already gotten some of this, I think it's Old Cottage Gray. I was going to do the buildings and words in this, but there aren't that many of them, and peppering this in with the animals would make it a little bit more cohesive. So I think I'll do that instead. I should have enough of that to cover the animals. We'll find out. Um, I just got this as a PDF, so I now have it available in Pattern Keeper. I don't know how much is fully new and how much was done here, but I have about 1,200 stitches done total. My goal right now is to finish out kind of this motif that goes along here and then move on to, there's some vines a bit lower, and that'll let me play around with some of the other colors a little. But in general, I'm really happy with the color scheme. I think it's nice and cohesive. It all kind of works together. And then I didn't do much on this next pattern. I just did a little bit as a test of something. So I did a little more on Unseelie Forest Witch. Basically this portion right here. I'm trying to get it so that the light shows it better. What I did here, I had been doing this on 22 count again, 1/1, but the black, as most, a lot of people who work with 310 DMC know that the coverage is really sparse. There's something about it, it's very thin. And sometimes that's great, but black, I want there to be better coverage. So I tried this section out doing 2/1. The coverage is great. I really like it, but it's, because it's so much thicker, it's a little bit harder to pull through. So my hands would get tired faster. So it won't be something I can do a ton of all at once. Which is only disappointing because there's about 17,000 stitches in black, I think. So it'll be a lot to do a bit more slowly. So I need to go back in, kind of fix this, but it was really good to have as an example. I don't know how apparent that is, the difference, but to my eye, it's really obvious. So I'll be going back in, kind of fixing up the little bit that's there, and then working a lot more on it. The last project I worked on, I didn't do a ton on with it either, but I did enjoy what I was working on. This is Winter Wonderland. It's another Artsy Housewife pattern, but it is a freebie for winter. I did some more of the 310 up here, trying to finish out more of this top border and work my way down little by little so I know what the full extent of this is. I did maybe 165, 170 stitches in on this, so not a ton. This fabric is 28 count Aquarius by Stitch Me. And that is it for projects that I stitched on. The only other thing I did was the finishing touches. There wasn't much, but I did the last little bits of backstitch for Winter Wonderland was the other one. This is Merry Christmas by Tinsel Cross Stitch. I did this on 20 count stone. And I don't know how obvious they'll be, but there's just some little additional snowflakes. There's a couple that got a little bit of extra backstitch to, not even remotely in the right spot, fill them in a bit more. I did use a sparkly metallic to do that in. So it's pretty subtle, but I think it does help, and it's a little bit down here in the words as well. Overall, very happy with this. I have most of what I need to finish it. There's just a couple of last things coming in. I didn't have any finishing supplies at home at all, so just waiting to get those and I'll be able to get it done. I'm having Christmas with my family on the 22nd because they'll be traveling on the day. So it'll be done in time for that. That'll be fine. Yeah, I think that's it for stitching specific. The rest of this, if you are new, I'll discuss my plans a little bit. I'll go over some shout outs or other channels that I think other people might want to watch. I do a tarot card pull and I have a fact that I offer. If you want to stick around for those, please do. You are welcome to. If not, thank you for being here. So my plans for the rest of this month are pretty nebulous, basically similar to what I've been doing, just kind of following vibes. I've had a lot of motivation recently to work on my full coverage pieces, so I definitely want to continue doing that. While I have motivation, I like to cling to it and keep working with it. I am going to do one more video for the end of December, probably on January 1st or 2nd. And then I'm also hoping to do a end of year whip parade, maybe film it the 29th or the 30th. I don't know when the editing will be done. My hope is to try, for the projects that I featured in my mid-year, to also show kind of screen caps from that video where I was then to where I am now. So it will require a little bit more editing if I want to do it that way. So we'll see how long it takes me. And for next year, I don't have too many plans. I have a few. So the sign up for the Heaven and Earth Designs Stitch Along ended yesterday. And pretty much up to the wire, I was going back and forth. Do I want to work? Do I want to do this? Do I not? I kept arguing myself in and out of it. Ultimately, I decided no. There just aren't, I mean, there's a lot of patterns that I would like, but it wasn't really worth the stress that I knew I was going to put myself through, so I just decided not to, especially because, and please do not let it come across as, ooh, I'm being sensible. I'm not. I'm really not. But the way I'm being chaotic and ridiculous is unrelated to that in particular. The way I'm being ridiculous is specifically in that I want to start 3 additional long dog sampler patterns. Yes, it's ridiculous. Yes, I'm silly, but I'm going to enjoy them. I'm going to do them all on 22 count because I'm enjoying it so much. I'm going to do Active God, Pandemic, and Templar Prophecy. I've already found some hanks of silk from Silks for You that I want to do them in. I'll try to match them up on the screen with how I want to do those. I think one of them, at least one, I may dye the fabric or try 2. We'll see how that goes, but I've had decent luck with it so far. And of course I don't plan on fully finishing them. It's just, get as far as I can. The only other thing I am hoping to do for 2025 that I don't think will restrict me in any way is just try to do the 25 finishes in 2025. I think that'd be a really good goal for me, especially with how many projects I currently have. One of the chats I was in at Jingle Ball was the 30 whips and over. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm way past that. So getting those down would be nice. I'm obviously still starting some things, but I really do want to focus on working on what I have because I love the patterns that I have. I just need to spend more time on them. Let's see. Okay, so next will be shout outs. I have quite a few this time. It's partially just, December is a reflective time. I was looking over my subscriber list or subscription list on YouTube, trying to remember as soon as I heard some people mentioning their channels in chats, I would add them. But it also got a little bit mixed in with others that I can't remember if I talked about, or I only talked about them maybe once at most, etc., etc. So this is going to be kind of a long list of just a bunch of people that I think deserve more eyes on them. I've enjoyed their channels. I've enjoyed what they do. I enjoyed talking with them at Jingle Ball, etc. So here we go. Okay, Daisy X marks the spot. Eve of Queen V crafts. Coco creates. Crafty Emily, and that's crafty with an IE instead of a Y. Daybreak Stitchery. Fickle Stitches. Frog and Fudge. Giselle's Garden. Jan Stiff Stitches. Catherine Turnbull. Krista the Shenandoah Valley Stitcher. Maddie Stitches. Maggie Lou Stitches. Mandy Mead Stitches. Michelle Burt. PNW Crafter. Richter Stitcher. Rose Red Crafts. She Bee Stitching. Stitched by the Brook. Stitched by Immy. Stitches and Sundries. Stitching on Island Time. The Crafty Cataloger. The Nutty Nerdy Needle, Three Trails Stitchers, and Wolf Down the Rabbit Hole. I'll, of course, have all these in the description as well. And then I'll go ahead and jump down a little bit to the tarot card pull that I did this time around. When I did the pull, I was thinking about, the end of the year, end of December, Christmas specifically, and I drew the Five of Wands. This is, of course, the same Rider-Waite deck that I have. It's very pretty. This is Orion's Tarot deck by Ambisun. I will put that in the description. Beautiful art. I really love it. I'll probably be featuring it a little bit more often here in the next bit. The Five of Wands was kind of an interesting pull, especially with that as the intention I was thinking about when I drew it. Because the Five of Wands suggests conflict. It might be verbal conflict, communication related. It could be because you are feeling conflicted inside of yourself about something, about how you feel towards somebody or a situation. It could be born of jealousy, envy. And the big thing to take with it is to breathe, pause, think things through. If a lot of people are involved, try to make sure everyone gets a chance to be heard, but also that they are not only speaking and thinking with their emotions, but they're also taking a few moments to step back and look at the situation overall and from other people's perspective. And if it's something that you yourself are feeling, just kind of take the time to think through why you're feeling this way about the situation. Think about what you can do with that so that you are proud of your actions or your thoughts or your reactions to the whole thing. So it's very much a kind of duality card of there probably will be conflict, but how do you want to come out of it on the other end? And I will leave those up while I go over the facts. It doesn't have anything to do with those, but just a little something extra visual besides the Merry Christmas pattern. Okay, so this was an initial fact followed by some other things that, like, through digging into more of it. So the initial fact was that reindeer are able to eat a mushroom that is poisonous to humans. They're able to eat it and digest it just fine, but they will hallucinate, and they will enjoy the high so much that they will then drink their own urine for a secondary milder high. And ancient peoples saw this and thought, hey, I also want to get high, but I can't just eat the mushroom as it is. So they found ways around that, and the interesting detail about that is that fed into some of what we now think of as common Christmas traditions. And this happens a bunch. I think it's a pretty well-known thing by now that Christians co-opted a lot of details from various pagan religions. I mean, all across the world, all over the place, to help integrate, to create that bridge between Christianity and the pagan religion at its core. And this is just one more example of that, right? So various cultures of people who lived near the Arctic Circle and around reindeer would see this behavior. I'm sure if you tried the mushrooms just on their own, did not end well for them. And I do not right now condone this practice. Do what you want to do on your time, but don't necessarily use this as your method of taking a trip for cheap, let's say. Probably won't end well. With some testing, they found two major ways that they were able to take advantage of these mushrooms. One of them was through drying the mushrooms over the fire in a type of sack, which is now, there's correlation to that, between that and stockings over the fireplace. Or by, I wish there was another way, but drinking the reindeer's urine. They would also get in on that. Again, do not condone. don't condone it. And what this would do for them, so they would hallucinate, they would feel like they were flying, they would feel a source, like a idea of giddiness and happiness. And it was most commonly used by shamans of the tribe, or wise people of the tribes and peoples and cultures, who typically wore red and white to signify their status within the group. They would go on these trips where they believed that they could turn into animals and fly toward the North Star to see basically the future of their community. They would use this as a way to look ahead, to find out what the tidings were, what to look forward to, or what to watch out for. And then they would return through the central opening in the yurt, almost like a chimney for where the smoke exited, and return to their human forms, and they would then deliver these good tidings to their community. A lot of correlations to Santa flying with his reindeer across the sky, coming back with gifts. And just before I close, I only have a couple of recommendations this time. I feel like at one point I did have more, but just because I'm mentally all over the place with work and end of year stuff. So we'll keep it simple. The first one is a comedy movie from 1972. It's called What's Up, Doc? It's got Barbara Streisand, and honestly, she and Madeline Kahn are the only people I recognize by name. There's a lot of them I recognize their faces from other movies, but I don't know distinctly who they are. But it's a kind of a comedy of error movie about just everyone's trying to get a hold of this piece of luggage, but there's about 5 or 6 that are identical, and just, the shenanigans that occur because of it. Very entertaining. I watched it with a few friends, including my brother, and he isn't usually a loud person when he's laughing. He's usually, quiet, sensible chuckle kind of a person. But it got several, loud laughs out of him. So, to me, that's a marker of a good movie. And then the other one, things related to this movie have come up in a few conversations that I've been in recently, so it's been at the forefront of my mind. It usually is anyway, because it's a fantastic movie. But it's called Everything Everywhere All at Once. It came out a couple of years ago. Pretty recent. I want to say 2022. Phenomenal movie. It swept the awards shows for a good reason. The core concept is Evelyn Wong is just trying to get her taxes done. That's the core concept, which doesn't seem entertaining or interesting, but it's so good. It's like, what if Neo from The Matrix was an Asian lady in her 60s? What is, how do we handle nihilism and just exhaustion of everyday life? How do we deal with this? I don't know, it's and how do we handle generational trauma that keeps getting passed down from, person to person to person through the family line? It's a fantastic movie. Lots of action, beautiful visuals, a lot of silliness, a lot of great fighting choreography. Michelle Yeoh is amazing as Evelyn Wong. It's so good. There are a couple of cheeky bits, so depending on who you're watching it with, I do want to give a heads up, so I will describe a brief moment in one of the scenes, so you get the idea of what type of cheeky I'm referring to. So Evelyn's at the IRS. She's talking to the auditor, who kind of reaches back and points to some awards that she's gotten for her work. And to not put too fine of a point on it, they are butt plug shaped. And she says, you only get these if you've seen a lot of bullshit. That's the type of cheeky I mean. Like, it's little moments. There aren't a ton of them, but there are a few. So again, depending on who you want to watch it with, just be aware that does come up a bit. But it's so good. I tell everybody to watch it. It's phenomenal. I don't have any tattoos yet for like silly reasons, but if I ever do, there's one or two quotes from that movie that I desperately want to get. Like, that's how much they mean to me. But that's all. Thank you again for being here. Again, if you are new, I hope you found something here that interests you enough to stick around. If you're returning, I appreciate you so much. I genuinely do. I hope everyone's December goes well. Again, there will be a video hopefully two videos right around the first of the year. One that's a shorter video just to go over my stats for the last 6 months as well as this month in particular, but also as a whip parade. Try to remember to get enough water, stay safe, focus on what makes you happy, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.